Hey guys, we're here in Mission Beach, Southern California, San Diego. Belmont Park just right behind us over there with the Giant Dipper roller coaster. And we're looking at the Ride 1UP 500 series. This is the first bike that they launched in September 2018. It's their most popular, priced at $10.99. The MSRP is slightly higher, but they do the kind of anchoring strategy where you get a pretty good price point for what I consider to be a great bike. Like, this thing really checks most of the boxes that I look for, especially in like a affordable price point category. The interesting thing about it though is you do have to assemble the bike, and they ship it in a really narrow, really like streamlined package. So there are several steps when you get it, and I'm not able to do an unboxing, but I've talked with the founder. I've looked online. They have an assembly video that's pretty great. The first thing is you actually have to take the fork and insert it into the sear tube right here. And then you have to put like a compression bearing. This is like a conical spacer, two 10mm spacers, the stem, then you tighten the stem cap, and then you tighten the stem itself. Okay, so keep that in mind. You're gonna be doing all that. Then of course, adding that front wheel, putting the seat post on, tightening up the saddle. Make sure you do that single bolt clamp right here. Pretty simple, but wanna make sure everything's kind of tightened up a little bit, and then the pedals should be good to go after that. That's a little bit of an extra step, especially if you don't have a bike stand. And so what you're saving in money, you know, ultimately you might be spending a little bit more in time or working with a local bike shop to get this done right. You know, adding maybe some chain lubricant, even with the pedals, some grease when you tighten those on. There's no grease on the seat post and the you know, the seat tube, those kinds of things, little things, not the end of the world, but they're extra steps. I want to be really clear about that. I was surprised at this price point to have two colors. So what we're looking at here is, it's almost like a green gray, and it's really nice matte color. Got these like brown accents here, very minimal. You can see this is like their little logo right here. It's two of those ones like right next to each other, just to make kind of a little fun little thing. 1UP. See that right here on the front. Got this e-bike class 3 500 watt motor. Class 3 means this thing can go up to 28 miles per hour in pedal assist. It does have a throttle which takes you up to 20 miles per hour. So a lot of really good features, and the throttle does override assist. So if you're in a lower level and you want to zoom up and catch your friends on the boardwalk or something, you can. I really like that. I also like that it comes with an integrated headlight right here. This is a blaze light. It's got a single LED with a nice lens and a big reflective surface. Nothing on the rear, but having a headlight, especially one that points where you steer, is nice. And it's gonna run off of this roughly 500 watt hour battery pack. This is 48 volt, 10.4 amp hours, 7.3 pounds on that. The bike itself, 55.7 pounds. So, you know, there's a little bit more weight here, and I think some of that is the 500 watt motor, which we'll get to, but also this is a steel fork, roughly 100mm of travel, and this is an SR Suntour NCX. It's pretty basic. You can see that it does have compression adjust. Actually, this is preload adjust on both of the caps here. So you want to adjust those in tandem. If you tighten one, you want to tighten the other one, and that preloads the springs. So if you're someone who's a bit heavier, you're not just bouncing around and bottoming out. You can tighten them and preload them. I really like that. It's better than nothing, but this doesn't actually have compression and lockout, which makes it a little bit less efficient. You are going to get some bobbing. I like that they've gone with these bigger kind of, and they're not quite plus size, but they are slightly wider, 27.5 by 2.2. Plus size is 2.6, 2.8, 3.0. So it's kind of right in the middle. Kenda, quick 7.5, and apparently they have like a puncture resistant lining in here, K-Shield. I don't see the labeling for that, but they've worked well for me on this little test ride. They give you enough surface area to feel stable and comfortable, not in soft sand like that, but in just kind of mulchy terrain or gravel. You're not going to slide out quite as easily, and it just looks nice. Look at how there are no labels, no branding going on with this fork. It doesn't match the frame color, but it does tie into the battery, which is semi-integrated here. This is the Rienshin battery pack that we see on a lot of other bikes out there, like Amigo, NCM, Magnum. A lot of these bikes are using this battery pack because it makes it affordable. It keeps the weight low and centered. It's proven itself over the last couple of years. So I like to see that here. Again, Bafang, another really trusted name brand part. It's not Bosch, it's not Shimano, but for a hub motor, this is something that's like proven. I was interested in getting a little closer to this thing because to me, physically, it's fairly large. It's apparently able to offer 50 Newton meters of torque. It's rated at 500 watt nominal, up to 750 peak. So it's like a very capable motor. It feels very zippy when you're like in the throttle, and you can hear it like vrrt. Apparently it's an 18 amp controller. I was digging into all the specs and just, you know, going over this with a fine tooth comb, but coming back to like the price point and this color option, you can see how it's that like matte gray green with the brown touch points here. Really nice saddle, by the way. Sully Royale Freeway gel saddle. This is one of my favorites. And it comes in either this brown or in black. And if you get black, there's just another style of gray. It's like, it's less green, slightly lighter. So neat that they have two color options and with the grips and everything, because that means more combinations for them, more inventory, more overhead. And they even have more of a swept back handlebar, like Dutch style, kind of the relaxed, a little bit more upright body position. I'm glad that they went with what I would call a mid-rise bar on this one, because that also elevates things. This is a 90 millimeter stem. You could shorten it, get a more aggressive angle. I think this is just 10 degrees on this, but we are on top of those spacers. So for me, this is a really fun bike. The founder of this company, Kevin, really nice guy. You know, the company's not that old, but they did do electric skateboards before, and he was like, man, I love the idea of commuting and getting people to work and back without having to have a car, connecting with people, pulling over, you know, taking a walk. With a place like this where it's sunny, and we're in wintertime right now, you know, I'm filming this in late December, and it's totally doable. People are out and about all the time. So having a bike like this, you can do that. And they do sell fenders and a rear rack for like $100 for both of those. And so to me, I was like, wow, that really turns this into a commuter. I would want to add a rear light for safety. The front light we talked about a minute ago, I don't know if it's like 300 lumens or something. It's not the brightest. It's more of a B scene. It does adjust a little bit so you can aim it down and kind of see where you're going if it's super dark, but it's not like the world's best light. And if it was up here, that would be a little bit better, a little bit brighter, maybe a nicer pattern, but it does help you to be seen, which is a great safety element, because there are no reflective sidewalls on these wheels. You'll notice it doesn't have the reflectors installed or anything. We've got reflectors on these pedals. Not my favorite. These are the Wellgo platform cage style. I was talking to Kevin about this. He's like, yeah, you know, I think we might upgrade to the bigger Wellgo ones, the platforms where it has like, it's a little thicker, because if you tip the bike, this can get bent in and start to get sharp. So for me, it was like, well, that's nice to hear. And then coming back to the different options, there's only one frame size, which is 19 inch that we're looking at here. We've got this top tube that angles down a little bit, lowers the standover height, standard 27.2 millimeter seat post, which is, it's kind of narrow. It might make it difficult to use a shim or a dropper, things like that, but there are lots of suspension posts that you could get if you want to make this like into a full suspension feel, if you've got sensitive back and neck like I do. Nice to see. I mean, again, very standard part, comfortable saddle. The grips were actually fairly comfortable, but they're not locking. I asked Kevin about that too. I was like, you know, what about the grips? Was that like a cost savings thing? And he was like, I just like the way they look, and they were very comfortable. So, you know, he was kind of like, well, you know, we could do something better. You know, what would you do? And it's like, well, these are actually pretty nice. And they do give this bike, considering the branding here, I think this is like a luxury looking bike. I actually really like it. And we talked a bit about the name, like Ride One Up, and he was like, you know, it's almost like an extra life. Like you can take your riding to the next level, and maybe you can catch up to someone. It gives you a little bit of a boost because it is electric. Maybe someone who hasn't been riding for a long time, who's a bit out of shape, it gives you a new life in that way too, that you can go riding with your friends, and it's just fun, it's playful, but they didn't go overboard. Again, I like that the branding it's fairly understated. It's fun, but it matches, it's minimalist. So coming back to some of the other parts, 48 tooth steel chainring right here with a nice alloy guard, and that's going to protect you if you come into contact with a rock or a curb or something. It's going to protect that chainring. Nice rust resistant chain. And then back here, Shimano Acero. This is 3 steps up, so it goes Shimano Tourney, Altus, Acero, Alivio, Dior. So we're 3 steps up. It's decent. It's definitely a more affordable part, but they didn't go with Tourney. It's not like the very low end. The cassette, on the other hand, is fairly basic. 14 to 28 tooth, so it's a bit more limited in terms of the range. Only 7 speeds, which means when you're at the 28 mile per hour mark in pedal assist, which really, in my experience, it's more like 25, 26 miles per hour. It's not a true speed pedelec. You start to run out of gears a little bit, and you're pedaling a little bit faster. So Kevin was like, we're thinking about upgrading this to 11 to 30 and a cassette, whereas this is a freewheel. So I was like, okay, that's kind of a cool thing. And it sounds like this is very much an iterative improvement type of brand, where with each new batch of bikes, they're like fine-tuning it, listening to feedback from their customers. And that's how I found out about this, was on the forums at electricbikereview.com. People were like, hey, I like this brand, this is cool, what do you think? Like, can you check it out and see, check the quality and stuff. So the biggest takeaways for me is they've made great decisions. I mean, look at the kickstand, where it's mounted. It's adjustable length. It's not going to get pedal locked, which is not the case on this 700 series, which we're going to look at as well. But it's good support, especially if you have that rear rack and stuff. We've got decent mechanical disc brakes, Tektro Aries, with the whooshing 5-star levers, 4-finger, and they do have the rubberized edge. I mean, not bad. Both of these have motor inhibitors, which is nice for like a speed pedelec. If you bump the throttle or whatever, some people will be like, why isn't the throttle on the right? Well, it's because of the trigger shifters over here, and this is only a one-way high lever. You can't push it forward with your thumb, and so it can get a little tight up here when you're reaching down doing that. We do have multi-shift on the low gear. There we go. So we're back to the start. But for people who are used to jet skis and ATVs and stuff, it's like you kind of want your throttle over here. It's more comfortable, but it just wouldn't fit. So they put it on the left. So anyway, between the light, between a fork that's, partially adjustable, decent tires, good rims, 14 gauge spokes up front, 12 in the rear. So this is much thicker, and it supports the power of the motor and just the extra weight if you have a rack, and a lot of your body weight tends to go backwards. I'm not seeing any red flags. In fact, look at this. This is the 12 magnet sealed cadence sensor. That's a nicer part right there. It's not the external magnets that's bigger that can get bumped out of position. So nothing really stood out to me as being like problematic or concerning. Like, the parts are all things I've seen before. Yeah, they're value. These aren't like the Tektro brake levers. We're not seeing like hydraulic brake levers or Shimano, things that are definitely higher up. And even the trigger shifter, it's a little bit of room for improvement, but that's really just a preference thing for me. So coming back to 2 colors on this thing, some adjustability by handlebars, the fenders, the rack. They do have like a pannier option that hangs over, and it's 2 bags, and that's only like 65 bucks. They even have a phone mount that can go up here that's a little bit nicer, where you kind of screw it in and it feels more solid. You could get this bike and commute with it. There's definitely some value here. And Kevin was like, yeah, on our like about page or whatever, it says if you pledge to cut your commute down by 2 trips per month, we'll give you a $40 discount code on the price. So it gets even cheaper. I mean, that's pretty cool. And it's like Scout's honor, I'll definitely replace my commute. I think that's really nice. That speaks to the values of the company. I was asking him, like, why are you doing this? Like, what's your end game here? What are you doing? He's like, I like bikes. I've worked on bikes in the past. I wanted to make something that, is semi-affordable, but that looks pretty cool and is quality enough to be something you could commute on and really enjoy. And I think he's been very successful with that. I'm actually very impressed. Coming back over here to the charger, it's 1.5 pounds, 2-amp charger, exactly what you'd expect. This should charge the battery in 4.5, 5 hours if it's fully empty. This is not like the world's highest capacity battery at roughly 500 watt hours, but it gets the job done. Insert the key like this, twist, use the little lever like this. Remember, 7.5 pounds. So you can take that off the bike, and now the bike is less than 50 pounds, maybe 48 pounds, something like that. It's pretty standard. I've seen this on a lot of other e-bikes. There's the 48 volts. Oh, it does have LG cells inside, which is really nice. And it has this standard, this is USB Type A, full-size port right here. So you could charge your phone or other portable electronics off the bike, use this for like backup power, or you could do it on the bike. But if we put this back on, notice that gold pin right there? We're actually gonna have to turn the key a little bit like this to get the battery back on. It's tough to do with one hand, but we did it. There it is. So, we come back here to this side. Imagine trying to run a USB from there to there. It's going to get in the way of your pedaling. So on Amazon, they do have right angle USB adapters, and that's what I'd recommend or just get a battery pack thing for your phone, like some of the cases and stuff. And there is a lot of room to mount something up here. It's a shame there isn't like a USB port on this display itself, but you know, those are some of the trade-offs. So I hope this really, you know, gives you an idea of what you're getting here. Other things that are missing is there's no slap guard right here, sticker slap guard, and you can see the paint is already chipping off. We're seeing the silver aluminum alloy under that nice paint job, which to me is like, oh, that's a bummer. You could just get a piece of masking tape, like box tape, and put it over. And I mentioned this to Kevin. He's like, we might do that in our next batch. Thanks for giving me the heads up. You know, it's something that maybe overlooked or just didn't think was that important, because you're not going to get rust here, but it is probably going to, you know, it doesn't look super great, and then it might cause a little bit more damage on the chain unless it had like plastic, just a little bit of dampening when it slaps. And it's definitely gonna be quieter. Also, maybe a chain guide, like a full guide to keep that chain from bouncing off track. I haven't had any problems. I haven't dropped the chain, and this isn't really a mountain bike, but with these tires, it is trail capable. You could take it on the gravel trails I was talking about and stuff. So it's little things like that. It does come with a derailleur guard. It's like a steel hanger thing that covers this. It doesn't come mounted on the bike. So again, they're shipping these from, I think, Sparks, Nevada, not California. This is where their offices are and stuff, where they're designing the bikes and performing support. They've got a 1-year warranty on this thing. Free shipping, which again, for $10.99 is pretty amazing. If you live in Canada, I think it's just like 25 bucks, and they'll ship it up there as well. They do ship to Mexico. And if you live in like Hawaii or Alaska, it's only $125 to get it shipped there. So really keeping the price low. Again, all the accessories, the base price, I can see why this has been popular for them. I like it. I'm definitely game. Just keep in mind that extra work if you don't have a bike stand, if you're not super handy with tools and stuff. There's a situation where you put this together and you start tightening the stem here, and you haven't tightened the cap, and then you get rattling in that steer section of the bike. It could feel like, oh, what's wrong with my bike? Or if you don't tighten that bolt and you're heavy and you're kind of on the saddle, it could crack off and you could fall off the bike or something. These are all things you don't have to worry about when you buy a bike from a shop. They've done it correctly, and you have someone to go to get help. So let's go ahead and power this thing up. This is the key display. I've seen this before. I really like this display. Press the power button for a second. You don't have to go down and press this. This is just sort of gives you a battery indicator. It's totally separate. It's not turning it on or off. 5 ticks on that battery infographic there. Nice, 20% steps. 9 levels of pedal assist by default, which is kind of a lot. More than I feel like I need, but it does create those finer increments so you can really dial it in. And with a speed pedelec or a 26-mile pedelec, that's not a bad thing. If I hold the plus button for a second, that gives you backlighting right here, and it activates that headlight. So right now we have odometer down here, but if we tap the power button, we go through all the other readouts like trip distance, time, watts, power, that's like the motor, and then back to odometer, max speed, average speed, lots of stuff in here. Miles per hour is what we're seeing. And I want to do walk mode real quick. If you hold the minus key, that's really nice for if you get a flat tire or you're in a park and you just don't feel like riding. If you want to go into settings, you hold plus and minus, and there are quite a few settings, and it comes with a manual. One of the things you can do is adjust the speed settings with the throttle, and you can also change units. I'm not going to get into that, but I do want to highlight that if you hold plus and power at the same time, it lets you reset everything. So that's kind of neat if your display gets messed up and you want to like go back to scratch. So very cool, very cool. I think that's about it. Before we get riding though, I do want to point out with that kickstand, you know, these are 160 millimeter mechanical disc brakes. You're going to get a little bit more cable stretch. The right lever has to go further, so it requires a little bit more hand effort. You can see the cable right there. It's just, for someone, if you have weaker hands, or if you really need to stop, maybe you're a heavier rider, I think it's like 275 pounds is the recommended max weight on this bike. The hydraulic disc brakes could be worth going for, and they do offer that on their 700 series from Ride One Up, so keep that in mind. But the good news is, with a 600 millimeter rotor back here, it's not quite as tall, and you're not going to get collision with that kickstand. So when I stow this, see how it's not banging on the rotor, which is something I've started to notice on some other bikes. By the way, quick release up front on that front wheel. That's another way to lighten the load if you've got to lift this bike or mount it to a car, something like that. And of course, is there anything else this bike is missing that you guys can think of? Just looking at this bike, is there something you don't see here? Bottle cage bosses. You probably wouldn't fit right here, and it might have gotten in the way of you know, the seat post sliding down and also the battery. So a lot of these bikes from other companies, a kind of similar frame, they put them up here, but then you're gonna rack yourself maybe if you have to jump off the bike quickly. I can see why they skipped them. It looks really nice. There are aftermarket, like these kind of adapters that just use straps right here and then allow you to mount for folding lock or whatever. But coming back to that rack for just $100, I mean, I feel like that's what I would do. I would just skip the bottle cages right here and recognize that it's a trade-off for a bike that's, in my opinion, it's using technology that's a few years old. That's when these were really like, oh wow, that's new. This is proven, and now it's about a lower price point and 1 year comprehensive warranty on this too. Again, at that price, that's pretty phenomenal. So I think it's about time we should just hop on this thing and take a little ride. Okay, so we're on the bike, we're in assist level 0, and yet the throttle works. So that's really cool. You don't have to worry about pedal assist coming on unexpectedly. It's just straight up scooter style. There we go, appreciating that suspension fork right now. Pedaling. Once you've got a few miles per hour going, the bike feels like a regular bike. Getting up to speed with the extra weight, remember 55.7 pounds, it's not the lightest bike, but it feels good once you're going, and it's pretty quiet. Great, now I'm gonna take it up to assist level 1, kind of slow down. I mean, that's sweet. It's probably only given us like 6-8 miles per hour worth of support. And so many times with assist level 1 on the 5 levels of assist, or just a lot of other bikes, it's like, you know, it takes off and you're like, that feels more like 3 or something. So this bike actually gives you that feeling of like gentle assist on assist level 1. The bummer is you have to click a bunch of times to get up to the actual powerful levels of assist. So here's 3. You know, now we're up in the 10-11 miles per hour top speed. It's definitely comfortable. This is good for a sidewalk like we're on here, where there are other people riding around and we don't want to get out of control. Take it up to level 5. Beautiful. And we're only in like gear number 2 here. Now we're up to 15-16 miles per hour. Very comfortable because of those slightly wider tires. Go ahead and hit the trigger shifters. Gonna have to pull. There we go. Take it all the way up to 9, and now you can really see, pretty easy to get to 20. And the highest I've gotten is like 26, and a lot of that was just because I was pedaling a little bit harder and kind of like giving the bike my all. I really feel like 25 miles per hour is the top speed on this bike, which is fine. That's good for commuting, helps you keep up with traffic a little bit better. And what you'll notice is that once you're above 20 and you take a break pedaling, a lot of times I'm also like juicing the throttle and nothing happens because you're over 20. So the throttle cuts out at 20, which is sort of a class 2 performance characteristic. Okay guys, from here you can see the 48 tooth chainring, 14 to 28 tooth freewheel in the back. Sounds like that could change, especially if they get that 11 to 30 tooth cassette in the future. Lots of little refinements on this bike, but what we're looking with here is standard, works well. I'm glad they went with a little upgrade on the Acera, and other than that missing slap guard, it's fine. I'm gonna try to get like the higher top speed. I'm gonna be taking it all the way to assist level 9. I can't tell if maybe it's a square wave controller instead of sine wave. There's definitely a little bit more noise coming from this motor, but it is more powerful with that 48 volts. It's a satisfying ride for sure. So here we go. There we go. That was 25.5 right there. I did stand up a little bit did take it to the highest gear, which is 14 tooth. So just, you know, you could see me spinning. I was spinning a little bit faster, but it works. It's not too bad. This time I'm going to take it down to the lowest gear and maybe use the throttle a little bit. It's kind of fun, right? Very nice. The bike's performing great. It's nice that they built it. I know they put some extra time into making sure everything was working great, you know, and adjusting the brakes, and just, you don't want any squeaks or anything for review. This is how it's performing without, you know, lubricant on the chain, without any of the extra things that maybe a shop would do to really refine the build. And I think it's working fine. So consider some of those options, or just some extra bike maintenance if you're going to do this yourself and you want to set it up perfect when you go out for your first ride. Because if you set it up right, it's going to last longer. Nice. This is a fun bike. You know, it's definitely the kind of bike that gets more people into the space because it's within reach, it's affordable, and it doesn't look lame. Like, you're not going to get this bike that's, you know, embarrassing or has like a real flaw. I don't see any big flaws on this. I think it just really like checks the boxes and stuff. So I hope that's helped you guys. I'll give you one more look at this beautiful place. It's been a real pleasure to come and meet Kevin and some of his team. I think that they are, you know, definitely passionate about bikes, and they've got like a vision here. It feels like they're trying to help people, and there's some excitement. It's a relatively young team, and I'm excited for them. So I hope this answers all of your questions. Please chime in the comments if you've got anything you want me to ask, because I'm going to be here for a little bit longer, and I always try to, you know, do right by you guys and be as independent as possible. Let me know what other bikes you want to see reviews for, and I'll be out there just kind of cruising around. Love you guys. Ride safe. We'll see you in the next one.